What's up guys, we're back with another video, and today we got something a little different. I've had a few of you commenting and asking what kind of equipment we use for swimming pool leak detection, so that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video today. We're going to start with some of our more simple equipment. So if you're a homeowner trying to figure out why your swimming pool is leaking, we'll get you covered with that. But then if you're looking to start your own leak detection company, we'll cover some of the more professional equipment that we use, how well it works, and what you need to get started. So with that said, let's get this video rolling. All right guys, so the first tool that we recommend for anybody to pick up if you're trying to figure out why a swimming pool will be leaking is to get yourself some leak tracing dye and a good dye pen. So we use Green Gobbler. It's just a red colored leak tracing dye that helps us to be able to identify if there's any kind of structural damage or leaks within the body or structure of a pool, or if there's a tear in a liner. This leak tracing dye makes it very easy to identify. And then also getting yourself a good dye pen. If you want to get a cheaper one, you can easily go to a Leslie's or a Pinch a Penny pool supply or your local pool supply in your area, and they'll typically have one that's about 5 milliliters. We get these off Amazon. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera, but it's about 20 milliliters, so they last us a while. This syringe we also buy separately on Amazon, as well as the needle. They work well for us. We're doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs every year, so these are going to last a little bit longer. We're able to refill them. But if you need to get started with any kind of leak detection, this is going to be your first step. It's some good leak tracing dye, and then as you do this more, if you want to get into leak detection professionally, over time you're slowly going to build up a knowledge bank of everywhere a pool is going to start to fail, and you'll learn more and more where to dye test when you get to a customer's house. But that's going to be tool number one, is a very good set and kit of leak tracing dye and a dye testing pen. All right guys, tool number two is going to be a vinyl liner patch kit. So if you're a homeowner, a lot of times you might be dealing with a tear in your vinyl liner. If you dye test and you find a spot in a corner where it's torn, you can very easily use this to patch your liner and get you by. It's not going to be a permanent solution, but it will typically last at least a couple of years and keep that tear in your liner nice and sealed, so you're not losing any more water. It's just nice and easy, real quick to use. You can see we normally just cut off a square about the size of a quarter. We apply a little bit of our glue. We take it down into the pool. It cures underwater. You just hold it on that tear for a couple of seconds until it sets, and then you're good to go. So that's nice and easy. We'll throw a link to that down in the description. And now we'll move on to our next tool, which is going to be butyl tape. All right guys, so tool number three is going to be essential if you ever find any kind of leak in your swimming pool light, and that is butyl tape. So I've just got a small string here, but I'll just show you as a sample what this is. It's pretty much just a black, flexible, rubbery material, and this is invaluable. If you ever have a leak in the conduit of your light, this is going to plug it up perfectly 90, 98, 99% of the time. So just a quick demonstration of what you do is I normally get a longer strip than this, probably about 2 feet. You can fold it over on itself, just like that. Then what I like to do is ball up one end of it. And after you've removed the light from your swimming pool, you jam that ball in the back in the conduit where your wiring's coming through. And then the rest of this, you're just gonna wrap all around. So around your electrical wire, your ground wire, just wrap it and continue shoving it and packing it into that light conduit. And you're gonna see eventually it's just gonna continue to stick to itself and plug up that conduit in the back of your light housing until eventually it's completely watertight. The nice thing about butyl tape too is that it's easily removable. We've seen where other pool companies in the past have used epoxy or pool putty to try to fix a leak in a light. The problem is that stuff cures like cement, and if it does fail, which it will in the future, now it's going to be really difficult to get it perfectly removed and try to get that light fixed. If anything ever goes wrong with this, you can simply just pull it out. It'll pop right out. Sometimes just get some needle nose pliers and it'll pull out, and you can try it again or fix your light with some other method. But butyl tape is going to be invaluable to fixing any kind of swimming pool leak. All right guys, so that's 3 tools that are for homeowners to be able to see if they can find a leak in their swimming pool at home. That's your dye testing kit, your vinyl liner patch kit, as well as some butyl tape. Pretty much any homeowner is going to be able to use that stuff and see if they can figure out why their swimming pool is leaking. Moving forward with our tool bags and the rest of our equipment, that's pretty much going to be for swimming pool professionals that want to start getting into leak detection as a line of work. We started with number 4. We've got just a tool bag full of all kinds of different hand tools. We'll just go through them quickly. In here, we've got a dye testing kit, pins, dye in there, and just all kinds of random small stuff that I'll just pull out and show quickly. We've got a couple of needle nose pliers. We use these for taking fittings off of like a pliers pump. Channel locks, we'll use these for compression fittings. trying to get a plumbing line undone from, say, a heater, for example, we'll use those compression fittings or those channel locks. We got an underwater flashlight right here. So a lot of times we'll be taking a look at a customer's skimmer throat, and this one will help us to be able to see a lot more clear and be able to check that skimmer throat more easily. So we'll keep that in the toolbox as well. A pair of scissors, cutting vinyl liner patch, hammers. We'll use these with the pry bars to help take eyeballs out of a spot or pool. A couple of different screwdrivers, sizes, Phillips head mostly, because that's going to be what obviously all the covers in a customer's pool is typically going to be, is either a Phillips head or a star bit screw. Little dental mirror, you can get this from Lowe's. It's a Craftsman mirror. We use this sometimes for checking pool return fitting. Sometimes the concrete gets separated from a return line. This will help us to be able to see that a little bit more easily. What else we got in here? This tool is for removing waterway jets. It does not work. Do not buy this. Never use that. It's never worked for us. Dye testing cones. Every now and then, these will be helpful. We'll see where a plumbing line looks like it might be pulling in dye, and we'll put these in all the return lines or the skimmers or whatever line it might be, and we might be able to see more clearly if that plumbing line is leaking. So these are actually somewhat useful. PVC cutters, never use these. These are actually broken, so typically don't have to worry about that. What we do use instead to cut a plumbing line is simply just a cable saw. You can get this at any hardware store. It's very cheap. Works perfectly for cutting any lines that we might need to, so that we can pressure test. Sometimes with like a spa jet line, for example, we can't pressure test it without cutting, say, their air blower line, and so that's why we use that cable saw, and it really works perfectly. So highly recommend keeping a cable saw with you. Just a splitter for electrical cords, not much necessary. Different pry bars. Some pry bars work pretty well with taking out eyeballs. This one, sometimes we have to fit it inside of an eyeball and pry it out from the inside. So that's why you have a thicker, more heavier one. A couple more things, let's see, just different screwdrivers. That's mostly it. We've got a pocket knife in here, a Sharpie, ruler, needles, and let's see. Then in this pocket, we just got more glue, fluorescent testing dye, stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. Just a good toolbox with all of your hand tools that you might need. That gets us through pretty much every day, being able to work on any customer's job. A couple more just handheld tools for everyday use. We have just a DeWalt compact drill, obviously for like jandy valves to get access to plumbing lines when we have to pressure test. We can't remove those without a drill. So just a simple DeWalt drill, nice and small, works perfectly every time. Just a simple bite pump. We've got pressure testing plugs that are inflatable to fit different plumbing sizes when we don't have the right rubber size plug. So having a good bite pump at all times helps us to be able to use those inflatable plugs. And then lastly, just a really nice water hose. This is a 0G Pro water hose. These are the only types of water hoses that we buy. They're nice and lightweight. I believe this one's 50 feet. It's still nice and easy to carry. You can see it folds up. It only takes up 1 or 2 feet of space in my truck bed. And then they're durable. These are extremely durable. They'll last 2 or 3 years before they have to get replaced at least. So we can do thousands and thousands of jobs with this water hose for our customers without having to worry about replace it. Best of all, it's bright green. Our company, we're terrible about losing our equipment. So with it being bright green in color, that makes it nice and easy for us to find when we're leaving a customer's house. But I cannot recommend 0G enough. It's the only type of water hose I will ever buy because it is just that good. All right guys, so next tools on the list is a really nice pressure testing setup. So first of all, you need a really good box. This is just a box by Heart. It's got a couple different shelves, lots of storage. So we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of different plugs in here, all different sizes, so we can work on pools from all different eras. We've also got a pressure testing rig here. So it's extremely important if you're performing a leak detection for a customer, you have to be able to perform an accurate pressure test of that customer's plumbing lines. So we've got our rig right here. We can hook up a water hose for air, can hook up an air compressor as well. So if a plumbing line is broken, that's when we hook up air so that we can try to cause commotion underground and find where exactly that plumbing line is broken. But you're gonna have to get a really good pressure testing rig. This is an inflatable pressure testing plug like I was talking about. This one's for injecting, so we use this for filling a plumbing line up with water or air. We'll check and see if it's holding pressure on our pressure gauge. And then we've got plenty of these types of standard pressure testing plugs as well. You really have to have all kinds of different sizes because you just never know when the pool was built or what kind of plumbing or size plumbing they used when they built it. So we've got all kinds of these. These seal the plumbing line shut so that we can pressure test it and tell if a line is leaking or not. So we'll include a link to where we get all of our plugs. Anderson Manufacturing pretty much has perfected this, and that's where we get all of our pressure testing equipment from. But your pressure testing kit is going to be invaluable for anybody trying to perform leak detection. And we'll include this bag in the pressure testing segment as well. This is really just a bag we keep of oversized and really specialized type plugs. For example, this is a 3-inch plug. Every now and then, if there's a really nice pool built with a vanishing edge or a really big waterfall, they'll be using larger plumbing lines, 2.5, 3 inches. So we'll need these oversized plugs like this one. This is going to be very important if you want to kind of take the next step with your leak detection process, because as you get these bigger, more specialized plugs, they'll give you the chance to start working on, say, like a commercial pool for a residential neighborhood, and you're not really gonna be able to do that unless you have all these extra special plugs. So we just got plenty of that. We got plenty of backups, bigger plugs of all sizes, just so we can pressure test absolutely everything that we come across. All right, guys, and what we've got here next will be our air compressors. So we've got 2 different types that we use all the time. These are going to be extremely valuable as you're starting to develop your leak detection business. This is our air compressor. It's just a regular 1 gallon Husky air compressor. You can get it from Home Depot for like 80 bucks, 100 bucks. We use this all the time for pressure testing. The reason you need it is for finding a broken plumbing line underground. Say you pressure test a line, you see that it's losing pressure. Typically, you're not going to be able to find that with just water. So what you do is you flood the broken plumbing line with water. You get the soil around where it's broken, sopping wet, and then you use your air compressor and you send all that air through the plumbing line, and you cause a whole bunch of commotion underground. And when you're causing that commotion, then you're going to be able to hear it with your ear or with your microphones, which I'm going to get to in just a second. So this Husky air compressor is going to be invaluable for pressure testing and finding broken plumbing lines. And then we have our scuba diving air compressor. This is a Hookah Max air compressor. We find it's easiest just to use this. It doesn't take up much space in my truck. It's much easier than trying to use scuba tanks and having to fill them up and haul them around all over the place. So as long as we've got access to power at the customer's house, we just hook up our regulator and then we're good to go. So your air compressors are also going to be invaluable. You have to have these tools if you want to be a professional in swimming pool leak detection. So that's air compressors. Now we'll move on to the microphones. All right, guys, so what you're looking at right here would be our microphones. And if I had to rate it, I would say that these are probably the most important pieces of equipment that you're going to have on your entire truck, especially this guy right over here. This is referred to as either a hydrophone or a pool scope. And this is going to be invaluable right along with your dye for your dye test, your pressure testing, and then this microphone you're going to want to use on every single job. And I'll show you in just a second how to use that. And then this guy is what's referred to as a deck plate. We use it from time to time if we have a broken plumbing line underground that's extremely difficult to hear. A lot of times this deck plate is going to be the only way that we're able to hear it. But a lot of times, if we're fortunate, we're going to be able to hear a broken plumbing line with just our ears themselves. So we leave this in the truck a lot more than we're going to use this. We use this on every single job. All right, guys, so just taking a closer look at what we got going on with the pool scope. It's really simple. Just got some headphones that we plug into our amplifier. Typically you'll just hang this around your neck to make it nice and convenient to work with. And then we just got our microphone. This is an underwater microphone that we use to listen to the entire structure and plumbing lines of a swimming pool. And I'll show you how we use that in just a second. But then looking at our deck plate as well, it's essentially the exact same thing. We got an amplifier right here. This is the microphone itself. You plug that in. You can use this to listen all over the concrete deck when you're trying to track a broken plumbing line underground. And we've got some pretty goofy looking old school headphones that we use along with that. They work the exact same way though. This one's for listening to the structure of the pool with water in it, and then this is used for finding broken plumbing lines. But I want to show you just how to use this one as an example because it is so important for a leak detection company. All right, guys, so just a quick demonstration of how you would use a pool scope because this is so important for a leak detection company. You've got your amplifier. You just drape it around your neck with your strap here. You got your headphones that just plug in right into the top of the amplifier. And then you've got your mic. So as you get to a customer's house, you just unwind your cord for your microphone. And then you're going to use this to listen to the entire structure, listen to things like their pool light, listen to their spa, their plumbing lines, their skimmers, because when a swimming pool is leaking, it's always going to make some sort of audible noise that we're going to be able to pick up with either a microphone or just our ears alone. But that's why this is so important, is because that ability to hear where a swimming pool is leaking is the #1 way that we're going to be able to do our job. And so having a good amplifier, having good microphones, because these do go bad from time to time, and making sure you have new ones as a backup is going to be extremely important. But if I have to rate them, like I said, a good dye kit, an extremely good microphone, this is probably going to be #1. And then your gear for pressure testing, those are going to be the most important pieces of equipment you have as a leak detection company. All right guys, so we're getting towards the end of the video. We've only got a few pieces of equipment left that we want to show off, but this one I kept towards the end just because of my opinion on them. But the next tool we have are cameras, and to be 100% honest, if I was to give anybody any piece of advice, it would be to never spend your money on a camera, unless you're doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds or thousands of leak detections in a year. I think I've personally done 3,000 leak detections in the last 5 or 6 years, and out of all those leak detections, there's probably only been 5 or 6 times that a camera has actually been useful to be able to see some sort of broken plumbing line or structural damage within a swimming pool. So I could not advise enough against purchasing a camera, because they're just not going to be very valuable to you. I'm going to flip the camera around and I'll show you a couple reasons why I feel that way. All right guys, so like I showed you, we've got 2 different types of cameras. This is the first one. This is obviously going to be the cheaper one. It's just a little rigid camera that we bought for the purpose of examining a skimmer throat or something within a pool that we couldn't reach, possibly even taking a look at something like a light. But an issue is just the quality, and then the display itself, and really just the functionality. I mean, by the time you try to fiddle with these kind of cameras, it's going to be easier just to get in the pool and look straight at whatever you think might be a problem. But this, you can see it extends probably a solid 3 feet. But an issue that I just have is the display itself. I mean, this is looking straight at my face, and in the sunlight, I mean, can you tell that's me? I mean, that's the side of my head. It looks pretty good, but you know, it's very tough to tell what you're looking at if you're trying to use this for a swimming pool. As far as functionality and usability, maybe out of 3,000 jobs, there's been 1 where this actually works. So one issue is just gonna be the displays. I mean, it's extremely difficult to know what you're looking at with these cameras. All right, then here's the second camera we use, and to be honest, this one every now and then can be useful if we got a broken plumbing line within a couple of feet or within a couple of elbows in a plumbing line. We might be able to see it on video, but just an issue with these, for the amount of times that you have success with them, it's so expensive to try to keep this equipment with you. And unfortunately, a lot of times they still don't even work that well. This is just a camera, it's on a reel. This could unscrew and detach itself if you needed to. I mean, it's got lights on the camera head itself, and then you can just reel it out. It goes 30 meters, so obviously an extremely long run of plumbing. But the issue with these is that this reel is so, I guess, just stiff. The problem is if you get it past 1 or 2 90-degree elbows, possibly even a third, the problem is that this is actually going to get stuck in the elbows themselves. And so even if you try to push the camera through more, it's just going to bend and instead of pushing the camera further down the plumbing line. So as great as we wish they were, the reality is that they just do not work that well. Same thing with the display. The quality of the camera itself is not fantastic. Trying to see what you're looking at, even the water inside a plumbing line, is not going to be crystal clear all the time. And so again, the reality is that as badly as I would love for these things to work, they simply just don't. And I think they're a fairly useless tool for anybody in leak detection, and I would not really recommend purchasing one unless you're doing thousands of jobs a year. All right guys, so the last pieces of equipment that we're going to cover is our diving gear. So we got boots, a dry suit, weight belt, and our dive bag. So we'll just start with the bag. I'll pull a couple of tools out, show you what we have in there. Then I'll talk about our dry suit and our weight belt a little bit, and that'll be it for the video. But let's go ahead and get the bag open. All right guys, so we got the dive bag open, and obviously with the dry suit and a couple of things in the bag, this is really only going to be relevant if you're living and working in an area where you're, at least for a while, dealing with some pretty intense cold weather in the wintertime. Here in North Atlanta, we at least have a 6-month period where we're dealing with weather below 60 in the 50s and sometimes even the 40s, which for me, I personally just hate the cold. And so if I'm trying to scuba dive in a swimming pool and it's 45 degrees outside, that's gonna be miserable. And obviously it's gonna be even more miserable if you don't have all the proper gear. So let's go through this real quick. For wintertime, we just got a little fleece onesie. We wear that as an extra layer underneath our dry suit when it's really cold. When it's really cold in the dead of winter, a lot of times we'll have even 3 or 4 layers on underneath the dry suit. Stuff we use more typically, even in the summertime, we got gloves just to keep your hands warm. The dry suit is great for your body up to your wrist and your neck, but you're not gonna have any help from the cold for your hands. So having a good pair of Bear or Scuba Pro gloves will help keep those nice and warm and honestly keep them from hurting when it's extremely cold outside. Here we've just got a Bear hood. We keep them pretty thin. We don't want them to get too thick because it becomes a little bit more difficult and more uncomfortable to wear. But just slip this over your head in wintertime when it's cold. Again, sometimes it's so cold you can even start to get a headache. So keeping a hood on is gonna make your job a lot more enjoyable and less miserable. We got just a regulator. We hook this up to the air compressor, the hookah match that you guys saw earlier. It goes about 50 feet. You just hook it up straight to the air compressor. And as long as you've got that, you'll be able to breathe underwater. Then lastly, just a good set of gloves. Good set of goggles. So we love the brand Hollis. We've used different brands in the past. We've used Atomic, we've used DUI, but in our experience so far, we've only been using them for about a year. But Hollis is by far the best. Having a really good set of goggles is going to be extremely important if you're trying to examine a pool and you're underwater for 30 minutes and around all these seals on your face, you just got water that's constantly seeping in around your eyes to where you can't see or they're fogging up. You're going to be extremely frustrated. So make sure you go to a good dive shop and get fitted for a really nice pair of diving goggles. It's going to be a game changer for you. All right guys, and the last pieces of equipment that we're going to cover are our boots, our dry suit, and our weight belt. So obviously, like we said, this is only going to be beneficial for wintertime if you're living in a very cold climate. But if that's the case, having a really good dry suit is going to be a lifesaver for you. This is our first year, like I said, using a Hollis dry suit. In the past, we've tried DUI and a couple different brands, but finding a really good high quality dry suit that doesn't leak is extremely difficult a lot of times, at least for us when we're using them every single day. A lot of times, especially with the DUI suits, we found even after 6 months or a year, they were starting to get pinholes all over them and even starting to develop some pretty significant tears and causing all that freezing water to be soaking and leaking into your suit while you're trying to do your job. Quite frankly, it's miserable. You get out of the pool, you're soaking wet, you feel miserable, it's cold outside, you're making yourself sick. So just a terrible thing to not have a good dry suit. But this one is the Hollis DX300X. Like I said, this is our first year using this suit and it's been fantastic so far. We've got a few spots where it's starting to show some wear and tear that I'll point out. But as far as just the quality itself, it feels thick. It might even be a little bit warmer than the DUI suits we've used in the past. We've used this thing a ton this past winter and there is nowhere that this suit itself has actually started leaking at all yet. The only issue that we've had is with these neck seals. Let's see if we can get this on camera. So when you're putting the suit on, this whole ring gets slipped over your head. And when I've done so this past year, I don't know if they were having some quality control issues with these seals that go around your neck to keep it watertight. But when I was doing so, I was actually getting a couple of seals where these were starting to split around this net ring. And that was even with trying to be really careful with my fingers, making sure I'm not digging my nails or anything into that seal as I pulled it over my head, but it would just continue to split. This seal itself has been in here for probably 3 or 4 months and I haven't had that issue, so hopefully they've got it under control. But that's the only complaint at all that we've had with it. Besides that, everything has been great. Then you've just got normal signs of wear and tear, especially working in a pool. You've got the knee pads that are starting to go bad just a little bit. And then we've got the boots too. But you can see where even the bottom of the feet are starting to show a little bit of sign of wear, but that's not much of a concern, at least not right now. But besides that, I have nothing but great things to say about our Hollis dry suit, our Hollis goggles. This is another company like I cannot recommend enough. If you're looking for a good dry suit, this would be my #1 choice. And our last item is going to be having a good weight belt. This is really gonna be a tool that's useful all year round as well. Even in the summertime, if you're trying to dive and examine a swimming pool for 30 minutes or an hour, if you're covering an entire vinyl liner, sometimes you have to go over every single square inch. If you're constantly popping back up or you're trying to remove a cover or an eyeball or anything like that, sometimes you're pushing so much against the pool itself, you're pushing yourself away and you're just floating away from where you're trying to work. So having a good weight belt is gonna make your life a whole lot easier. And then especially in the wintertime, you're gonna have to add a lot of weight to this. If you're using a dry suit, if you got 2 or 3 or 4 layers on, all those layers are gonna make you more buoyant. So having a good weight belt in the wintertime, we're gonna have to put this up to about 30 or 40 pounds just to get us to sink to the bottom of the pool. But this one we've used for years, I mean 5 or 6 years, and it's held up perfectly. So that's the last piece. Your weight belt is gonna work perfectly in conjunction with your boots and your dry suit. And like I said, you can also use it all year round for when you're doing your jobs in the summertime. All right guys, so that's it. Those are all the tools that we use as a swimming pool leak detection company. If you have any other thoughts or questions about our equipment, how to use it, where to get it, leave those comments in the comment section below this video and I'll do my best to answer them for you. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you like it, I hope you enjoyed. Go ahead and smash that like button. If you want to see more videos about swimming pool leak detection in the future, more about my job, learn how to do this skill and work in this industry, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I put up new videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.